Welcome to Unity of Bellevue. This is kind of the virus edition of Unity of Bellevue. I know that many of you are wondering why we are meeting online this morning. And we are meeting online because here in the Seattle area, there are lots of thoughts and conversations about us perhaps not meeting in large groups right now. Whether that is really necessary or not is actually part of the conversation that we are going to have this morning. And I woke up yesterday morning with a sore throat and a mild cough. And it felt really important to me to respect and honor the guidelines that we've set for one another around staying home if we're sick. So welcome to my home office, Unity of Bellevue South, if you will. And so I just really wanted to honor our agreement by doing something a little different this morning, and perhaps even support some of you in being with us who might not have been able to be with us had we chosen to do our regular service. So again, welcome to Unity of Bellevue. I'm really grateful to know that you're here with us. We are going to start here in a moment with a prayer, and then we'll step into our morning activities. So let's pray. Interestingly enough, always on Sunday mornings, we have Becca's beautiful music to open our service and back us up, and to support us in cultivating just a really reverent consciousness as we pray in. And so I just invite you to imagine that, to use the power of your mind. That is, after all, what we teach, to use the power of your mind to imagine that you are surrounded by this loving community, that there is beautiful music supporting us in relaxing into a consciousness of love, of connection, of inspiration. And I just invite you, if you wish, to close your eyes and join me in the consciousness of unity and the awareness that there is only one life. That life is the infinite power and presence and love of God. It is all there is. And we are fully unified with this presence. We understand and know that this life is living us with every single breath. And so it's in this consciousness of unity that I recognize and know, although we may be spread out, we are having this experience as one. That the one life has called us together in this unique and beautiful way this morning to deepen and explore and grow in the conscious awareness of wholeness and health and perfection and peace and ease. That the presence of God is lifting and expanding our awareness right now as we come together in remote spiritual community to know the truth and to live from that awareness. And so I give thanks for those who have said yes, who have said yes to a greater experience of the divine. I give thanks for everything that is about to unfold, for I know that the divine wisdom and intelligence of God is at work. I release this time to that intelligence and to this wisdom and allow it to unfold perfectly, divinely, and to the glory of God. And so it is. Amen. All right. Here's our process this morning. First, let's talk about our purpose. The purpose is for us to get conscious about our response to COVID-19. There's a lot of activity around the world and right here in our own community about this illness. And what we want to do is not allow the activity to tell us what to think, how to feel, what to believe. What we want to do is learn how to anchor in infinite wisdom, to cultivate the spiritual response, to anchor in the consciousness of health and love and power and grace, to anchor in that, and then from there formulate our response. Instead of being reactive, to be responsive, and to be responsive from a deep knowing of the spiritual truth. And so our purpose today is to anchor in that deep knowing and to consciously cultivate our own personal response to these events that are surrounding us. So I want to start with a poll. You'll have an opportunity to participate here. I'm going to ask you a question. You have three options. Yes, you have to choose only one option. Just get to the one that's close enough to how you're feeling right now. So the question is, how are you currently feeling about what's happening in our community and around the world with COVID-19? So simply pick a response And I'll give you about another 10 seconds to choose your response. Know that your response is completely anonymous, so you can be totally honest here. No one is going to know what you said. Let us know how you are feeling right now about COVID-19 and how that is unfolding around us. All right, it looks like we have most of our folks have responded. Let's look at how you guys are doing. All right, here's what we found out. One of you is completely panicked. Most of you are a little bit nervous, but you're doing okay. And then we have a pretty good chunk of folks who are completely at peace. And let me remind you, that's only the folks who've responded. We have more folks than this online with our experience this morning. So those are interesting results to me. I have a feeling they might be representative of the broader community, that perhaps, you know, some of us are pretty darn peaceful about this. Many of us, probably most of us, are a little nervous but doing okay. And there is a segment of the population that is completely panicked. And I actually would venture to guess that even outside of our community, there are even more people who are in that state of panic, because it can be a challenge to remember when we're not supported by spiritual community, when we're not supported by others who know something in consciousness with us and for us. It can be challenging to remember that God is good and all is well. And the energy of this time, I don't know about you guys, but I've definitely felt some pretty intense energy in the last week or two. And so if you're feeling completely panicked or even just a little bit panicked, I don't think you're that unusual. If you're feeling a little nervous, that's probably most of us. And completely at peace is what we are aiming for, because what we want to really come to understand in a deeper way today is that consciousness really is cause. And as we move into a greater sense of peace about the events that are unfolding around us, something wonderful happens and events start to unfold differently. So that's our poll results. Let's talk a little bit about our activity here this morning. I'm going to talk a lot just because we have a lot of folks online with us, but you do have an opportunity to ask questions. You'll see at the bottom of your screen, there's a little icon that says Q&A. If you have a question as we move through, feel free to click on that and to ask your question, and I will get to as many of those as I can. There's also a chat icon at the bottom. You can chat to everybody who is on the conference here, or you can pick somebody individual that you want to chat with. Feel free to chat and make comments in chat. If you have questions, please use the Q&A, because I'm going to prioritize responding to Q&A, but I'll respond to as many chat comments as I can too. So that is, it looks like, I just want to get in here with Mandy a little bit. Mandy, toward the bottom left-hand corner of your screen, there should be a little icon that says mute. If you cannot hear, you'll want to click on that icon and that will unmute you. So that is, let me just see if I can help you out a little bit. Let's see. Yeah, okay, Mandy, find that icon and click on it, and then you'll be able to hear. All right, good. Thanks, Mandy. Glad to have you on board. Okay, so feel free to ask questions. Feel free to chat. We will do a couple more polls. Also, you might want to have a pen and paper handy, because I'm going to ask you to think about a few things, and it might be useful for you to just kind of jot down a couple of sentences or phrases about what you're thinking as we move through today's material. So here's what we want to do. We want to move from completely panicked, or I'm just kind of doing okay, into completely at peace, no kidding, and to be able to communicate to others around us through our behaviors and through our actions and through our words, so that we can be a source of greater peace throughout this experience in the world. And so how do we get to a spiritual response to what's going on? The first thing I want to invite you to do, even if you're feeling pretty good about it, or even if you are completely at peace, to take a moment to consider this situation, to consider what's happening here in the Seattle area and around the world. with COVID-19. What's going on is a lot of people are sick. Some people are dying. There doesn't seem at this time to be a vaccine that can prevent the spread of this disease, this illness, I'm sorry. And that there's a fair amount of collective panic about it, that perhaps the response hasn't been quite what we might wish in a situation like this. There has also been, I guess I want to speak for a moment to those who have died and to those whose families are experiencing grief and loss. As we have this conversation about cultivating a spiritual response, I want to be sure and acknowledge and remember that this experience has impacted people's lives very, very deeply. And by saying we want to move into a more peaceful place about it, we're not wanting to minimize anyone's experience of loss. We are wanting to recognize that and bless that and be prayerful and conscious support for people who are in this experience, and to just really make sure that we're not minimizing the experience of loss that so many people are having. So that's my first kind of comment about it. And in the midst of all of this, we want to get in touch with our fears, because if we're not in touch with our fears drive us. Yes? Makes sense? So we want to make sure that we know what our deepest fears are so that we can be present to them and address them. So I want to invite you to take a moment to just really think through for a second, what's my biggest fear about this? No matter where I am or feel like I am in consciousness right now, what's the worst thing that could happen? What's my biggest fear? For some of us, sometimes we're, I don't know. I used to read a lot of Stephen King. Yeah. I mean, for some of us, I get this little trigger about, oh my gosh, the world could come to an end. We could all die. For some of us, I think that might be a fear. For some of us, it might be something a little bit different. But I invite you to just take a moment and to see if you can get in touch with what your deepest fear is about what's happening with COVID-19. Just turn within and take the sacred breath, and you know that you're safe. You know that right here and right now you're supported. There's lots of folks around you virtually in consciousness for you, and you can get in touch with your deepest fear about what's happening with this illness. And so just breathe into that for a moment and begin to imagine your deepest fear coming to pass. And begin to feel into the feelings of that, whatever that might be. And you may want to just jot down a couple of notes that help you remember, if you were to look at this in a few months, oh, that's right, those were my deepest fears back in that time. And so when you're ready, open your eyes and just feel free to chat a little bit if you have a comment about, what was your deepest fear. I have from an anonymous attendee, their deepest fear is that a family member or friends might die. Anyone else want to share? What are your deepest fears? What could happen? Feel free to chat your deepest fear or Q&A. Somebody else is saying, I'm afraid that this really will become a pandemic and there will be nothing we can do. Another participant is saying, my son is sick with a fever. I have a fear of losing him. And Allison is sharing, she's afraid that life won't be normal anymore. Anybody, is that kind of shown up for anybody? I think, how is life changing? Someone at the library, there are some folks who came to the center this morning, and Susan Neidig is there with them, and they're meeting in the library online with us, and someone there is sharing, I'll lose my housing and I'll have no place to live. And Peggy is sharing with us that her dearest friend has symptoms and she's afraid of losing her. So perhaps some of these kinds of things are also what's happening for you. These kinds of fears might be unfolding for you. Now, here's the interesting thing about our fears. Our fears tend to drive our behaviors. Think about that for a moment. When I start to feel fear, I often also start to behave badly. Is this anyone else, or is it just me? Because I am engaging in behaviors that help me not feel the fear. Some of us do kind of external behaviors, some of us, when we're feeling fear, some of us eat, some of us exercise, some of us, some people drink or drug in order to not feel their fears. Some of us just like work really hard. Anybody hard workers? Let's just throw myself into my job. Allison says, I had Chinese takeout and a blizzard yesterday. See, these are some of the external behaviors we might engage in when we are allowing our fears to drive our behavior. Now, some of us turn to internal behaviors, right? Maybe you're a worrier, that when your fears come up, maybe you just internalize that fear and you worry and you're laying in bed at night, you're thinking about things and you're worrying about things. Yes? Anybody? Some of us get depressed, internal depression, those kinds of things. So whatever your way of coping is, often our fears drive our behaviors, the behaviors that we engage in order to not feel the fear. Peggy says, I frantically clean all surfaces. I've been doing a lot of cleaning lately too. So sometimes the behaviors we engage in are productive. I mean, if you're somebody who starts to exercise, well, that's actually good for you. If you're someone who starts to clean a lot, well, my house could use some cleaning. So they can be productive behaviors, but they are always about not feeling the fear. And if we are always about not feeling the fear, we are not in the full, complete experience of life, and we are not in the full, complete experience of that peace that passes understanding, the power and the presence and the love of God deep inside of us. So let's look at how this tends to work. I have a little model here that I want to share, and it's called the creative process. So let me open that up for you so that you can see, and some of you are familiar with this model. Here we go. Let's see, there it is. All right, some of you are familiar with this model. This is the creative process. And so the first thing I want you to notice about this is at the center of the model is this idea of the macrocosm. And the macrocosm is the notion of God, the infinite, the living one, the energy, the essence, the life that is the source from which all things spring. God is all there is. This energy, this source, this essence is all there is. And so when we look at the creative process in this context, we're talking about the way that God creates, the way that this essence creates. And so it starts, the creative process, at least the way we're talking about it right now, it starts with the spirit or the energy in the green side of the model here. The spirit, the energy, is that which says, let there be. It is that which says, let there be light, let there be love, let there be truth, let there be wisdom, let there be, perhaps in this situation, peace. And that energy that says, let there be, is the seed of a human man, of a manifestation in the realm of effect. And so that energy, as you can see the arrow shows us, goes into the law, which is the top right quadrant. And the law is, I know some of you know this, the law is that which says yes, right? It is that which says yes to the idea. When we plant the seed in the soil of the law, the soil says yes and grows us a plant. The law is automatic. It is inexorable. It always says yes. So the energy, the idea, the thought, the let there be, goes into the law. The law says yes, and in the pink, purpley quadrant at the bottom is that which is experienced, the realm of matter or form, the plant, if you will. And so God said, let there be light, and the law said yes, and there was light. God said, let there be us. And the law said yes, and there is us in the realm of matter or form. And we cycles around and around and around. And so this is how God creates. Now, the good news is we are made in the image and likeness of the infinite. And so in the microcosm, the I am, because I am one with God, I create as God creates. The spirit energy in the green section, I am that which says, let there be. And the law says yes. And I have an experience. And so let's think about how we are being with this news about COVID-19. What is the spirit, the energy of my word, my feeling that the law is saying yes to, and I am having an experience in the realm of form or in the world, because I create in the same way that the infinite mind creates. I create my experience of life. That doesn't, actually, I'll get to that in a minute. So what is your let there be around this experience of COVID-19? Think about that for a moment. What are you saying in mind? What are you believing in mind that the law is saying yes to in order that you might have a certain experience in the world? Think about that for a moment, and you might want to jot down a couple of notes. Now, there's a very interesting thing here, because what many of us tend to do is when we're in that little purpley quadrant, and it's not a quadrant, it's a tridrant. I don't know what the word is when it's three. When we are in that little purpley section down at the bottom, the realm of matter or form, we often let ourselves allow that realm to tell us what to think. We often allow what's happening in the purple to tell us what to think in the green. Rest with that thought for a moment. How much do you allow what's happening in the world to tell you what to think and what to believe? Sitting with that question. And as we allow ourselves to allow the world to tell us what to think and what to believe, the law says yes to that, and we get more of that, and we cycle around and around. Is that making sense to folks? Any questions about that? All right. Now, a moment ago, I asked you to think about what are your biggest fears about what's happening around COVID-19 in our community and in the world. And then I ask you to think about what are your behaviors? What are the behaviors that you engage in that, actually, let me say that a different way. I ask you to think about what are the behaviors that your greatest fears are driving in your experience of this illness in the world. So there's another way to look at the creative process. If you'll, well, maybe there's another way to look at the creative process. Hang on one moment, please. There we go. Here we go. So there's another way to look at the creative process, and that is to label the blue section with feelings rather than law. In our human experience of life, we say Let there be, oh my God, everybody's going to die. Oh my word, my best friend has a fever. Oh my gosh. And I begin to have a lot of feelings. And my feelings are my personal way of saying yes to the manifestation of my biggest fears. And then our feelings are dragging us around this cycle over and over and over again. And we are experiencing in the world the things, the behaviors that we do to deal with our fears. Rest with that for a moment. I'm checking on chat. All right. So let's go back here and have a little conversation. Any feedback or questions about how we use the creative process unconsciously to create an experience in the world that we don't actually want to have? Okay. Think about that for a little bit. Because what we want to do is we want to know how the creative process works, and then we want to use it consciously, not unconsciously. So use this process consciously. An energy, an idea, a thought. What's the energy, the idea, the thought that I am embodying in consciousness about this event in the world? Well, maybe we want to begin to practice a new way of thinking, and not a way of thinking that denies the experience, because the realm of form is where we are having our being, right? We are in this experience whether we want it or not. Our choice is how we want to be with the experience, and we can use the creative process to cultivate a new way to be with the experience, and in that way change not just our experience but the experience of all of those around us. Take a breath with me now, breathing in and asking yourself, am I willing to be present to my fears so that I can move through them, no longer allow them to drive my behavior, so that I can have a different experience in the world, and so that I can be a source of a different experience for everyone around me? All right, so how do we do that? Well, we use the same power of our minds that got us up into the all hissy fit to bring us down into that place of presence and calm. Mandy just posted, I am light, I am health. The law says, yes, I am healthy and others are healthy, even in close spaces. And what's really interesting about this process is it takes practice, especially in the face of so much collective energy that something is terribly wrong. That collective energy can suck us into itself. And we just pick up on that and we start to live in the midst of that. What I'm inviting us to do is get a bigger idea. Peggy is saying information is important. Exactly. Peggy is absolutely right. How can we get the information that we need and be responsive to it rather than reactive to it? How can we pay attention? It's important that we pay attention to the news right now. It's important that we be prudent and take action to take steps to ensure that, number one, we are not being a source perhaps of illness for others, and number two, that we're, especially for folks who are compromised, immunocompromised in some way, it's important that we be able to be with the news and yet not have it tell us what to think. It's important that we can have the information and not get sucked into negativity as a result of having the information, because we know that there's a greater idea of good, a greater idea of love. Jean is sharing, worry is a prayer for what you don't want. When I start to worry, that realization about worry can pull me back to positive. See, Emma Curtis Hopkins told us the same, these aren't her words, I'm paraphrasing, but the same thing that makes us sick heals us. The same consciousness that makes us sick has the potential to heal us. And so we want to know what that healing consciousness is and embrace that healing consciousness. So take the sacred breath with me, and I invite you to begin to open your heart and mind to embracing the healing consciousness for yourself and for everyone around you, for our greater community, and for the world. What is the healing consciousness? And so breathing in, I invite you now, not denying your deepest fears, but present to them. Allow those fears to inform you. What is it you really want to experience as you walk this COVID-19 path? You, your community, and the world, we're walking this path together. What do you want to experience in consciousness? What do you want to know in order that you might experience complete and total peace? How do you want to be available to the universal mind such that peace is yours, even in the face of circumstances that may not appear to be very peaceful? So breathe that in with me. And use the same power of your mind that you use to be concerned about events to begin to imagine the highest outcome. What is the very best thing that could come out of this collective and your individual COVID-19 experience? Just begin to scroll forward in time. Imagine we are through it. It is past. And the very best outcome has been realized for you and for the world. And begin to draw a picture in your mind. Use the power of your mind to create images of this highest and best outcome. And begin to imagine what is happening in your life. Health, wholeness, a sense of joy. And begin to imagine what is happening in the world. How have we learned and grown? How have we awakened more fully because of this experience? And you simply allow the divine mind, the infinite mind, to inform your mind of the highest and best outcome of this experience that we are walking together. Not denying the current state, but using the current state to elevate you to a bigger idea. Imagine we have learned what we are called to learn. And now we are living in that awareness. Draw the picture in your mind and notice how it feels. How does it feel to be in this divine experience? How does it feel to know that we have moved through this time and it has turned out exactly in the highest and best way? That's some beautiful stuff. And now, whenever you're ready, just share a little bit. Feel free to either chat or use the Q&A function to share when you move into this awareness of the highest and best outcome for everyone, it hasn't happened yet. We're very clear it hasn't happened yet. But when you move into this awareness of highest and best outcome, what do you see? What is happening? What are you feeling in the midst of this highest and best outcome? So take a moment to briefly share via chat or share via Q&A your highest and best outcome. When I think about my highest and best outcome, what I see is a world in my life where I have just a deeper and richer awareness of my own wholeness and health, and that I live taking better physical care of myself. I feel more vital. I feel more alive. And as that is true for me, I know it's true for those around me. Kathy Lane is sharing, she sees in her vision of this best outcome future, she sees the world working together in peace and harmony. And Heidi says it's going to take everywhere. It's going to take everyone everywhere working together. She says, I see unity. DB is telling us, focus on communities, less focus on corporate greed. I exercise and eat better. I am with you, DB. I'm already exercising and eating better. I hope some of you are joining me. Becca says we are joyful creativity. And I can see qualities in this, like it's going to take some creativity to resolve this issue together. It's going to take a focus on community. It's going to require that we work together, that we take care of ourselves and others. We have someone whose name I don't know how to pronounce, so I'm not going to say it. People are living their normal lives with kindness and Zumba. I love Zumba. That's awesome. Beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. So do you feel how the energy is already beginning to shift when we move into this greater awareness of a high outcome? Healthcare accessibility. From the library up at the center, our awareness of hand hygiene results in no deaths from the flu each year. Can you even believe? I mean, I have always been a good hand washer. I used to work in healthcare. I've always been a good hand washer. I cannot believe how much more I'm washing my hands. And I'm realizing what a great practice that is. Someone says, I can see now that my place in this world situation is to help shine a light through this, right? Our job always, and especially in these darker times, is to shine a light through this realm of effect so that the energy in that upper left-hand realm of idea, of thought, of energy, so that the law has something new to say yes to. This person whose name I can't see says, my place in the world is to help shine a light through this. It's time to set my worry bags down more often, put the energy toward lifting those around me while we are on this journey. And isn't that just the call? That's the call. We are called to know the truth because the truth will set us free. Brian Brewer is saying, be careful what meds you consume. See, this is part of being in the world because we are in an experience. So let's take care. Let's be conscious. And sometimes, we make this, look at me touching my face. I'm not supposed to touch my face, right? But I'm sorry, Brian, back to your comment. Be careful what I read meds. He said media. But both, right? Don't over medicate. Don't if you are ill, follow your doctor's advice. That really is it. But I do also want to acknowledge, Brian, what you actually said, which is be careful what media you consume. Absolutely. You need enough to be informed about what's going on so that you can make the worldly decisions that keep you, your loved ones, and everyone safe. But, if we obsess on this stuff, it's the collective consciousness that drags us back into that upper left-hand realm of lack, of limitation, of fear. And then if you're like me, we start behaving badly again, and then we start getting these results that we don't want again. So shining that light. Oh, Allison, it's you, Allison. All right, thank you, Allison, appreciate it. And then we're getting, Jean is sharing about the CDC hand washing thing for a full 20 seconds. It's a lot longer than many of us are used to doing. We've learned a lot. And isn't that the spiritual journey? Yes, it's about something as mundane as washing our hands. We're going to learn something from that we exercise differently now in the realm of effect. But we also learn something in consciousness when we're willing to be with our fears, to see what they have to teach us, to notice our behaviors, see what our behaviors have to tell us about our fears, and then embrace a new idea based in what we've learned from being present to our fears. This is beautiful, you guys. You're doing a great job. You're doing a great job. So let me ask you this question. One of the things I ask you to consider as you were envisioning, as you were using the power of your mind to envision the future that you want to experience around this disease. And you know what? Let me just make a point. The future is 5 minutes from now. The future is also 10 minutes, 1 day, 10 days, 10 years from now. So the future is anything that is away from now. And so we want to plant the seed in the now for the future we want to experience, whether it's in a minute or 10 minutes or 10 years. What is the seed that you want to plant in consciousness right now so that you can have a different future experience? And so when I was asking you to use the power of your mind to imagine that different future experience, I ask you to identify, get in touch with, how does it feel? How does it feel to be in this experience? And the reason I ask you that was, let's remember, let me go back to this slide. Yeah, that's the right one. Let's remember that the feeling is what says yes. Let me find it. Where'd it go? Is part of what says yes in the human realm. The spirit, the energy, the let there be, that light, that positive energy, that healing energy, the feelings are what say yes, and that in the human realm. And that's why I asked you, when I was asking you to envision the green area, what do you want to experience? What is it going to be like when we've learned what there is for us to learn? And how does it feel? Because our feelings are that which says yes. And then we can have the experience in the realm of matter or form. All right. How's everybody doing? Let me check in. One moment. Oh, cancel that. Sorry. Let me check in here. Okay. So let's get in touch with that feeling, because it is the feeling that says yes. So I invite you to turn your attention within once again, and to begin to feel the feelings of this world, this desired future, this experience you are having in the resolution of this experience of COVID-19. And begin to feel those feelings again. Begin to embody that image again. And as you feel these feelings, magnify them. Allow them to permeate every cell in your body, every moment of your being. Feelings of peace and love and light and joy. Feelings of ease and grace and wisdom and power, whatever your feelings might be. Find the one word, often we talk about them as God qualities. Find the one quality of the infinite that most embodies this feeling for you. See if you can't find one word, at the most two, that most embody this feeling of freedom, that says yes to the divine idea, the bigger idea you have seen in mind. And when you're clear about what that word is, just jot that down on your piece of paper. Then see if you can't breathe into that one word. And if you wish, go ahead and share. What is your word? You can share it in chat. What is your word, your one word? I see from Jean, her word is wholeness. Who else? What is your one word? Carol says grace. That's beautiful. Tony says peace. Peggy says trust. And bliss from Sharon. Dick Rhodes is saying harmony. God bless you, Dick. We're gonna share a little bit later in our hour. Sarah Agassi says knowing, that intelligence, that wisdom, that knowing that God is good and all is well. That's beautiful. And so how can you use this word, this God quality word, this feeling word, to allow yourself to remain anchored in this conscious response, a conscious response to what's happening? Heidi says mindfulness. Rachel says inclusion, everyone belongs. Thank you, Rachel. Susan says the words in the library, pride, love, unity, peace. I love that. And the energy is lifted I'm here in my home office. I'm feeling the energy lifted. And I'll bet the energy in your heart and in your soul and in the room you are in is also lifted. And so our opportunity is to walk in the consciousness of this image we've created in mind, and to use this one word as our key. Oh my gosh, I forgot to be mindful. Oh heavens, I forgot about grace. Grace is mine. Grace is who and whose I am. I belong to grace, and I re-anchor in grace, and I walk now fully in grace. Oh, that's right, mindfulness. I got unmindfulness, and I started eating blizzards again. All right, I'm going to get mindful again. So the feeling word, the God quality word, is your key. It's like the quick shorthand to get you back to the idea. And I dare say this is a spiritual response that will provide us with the discernment that is required in the world to take right action. Because when I'm being mindful, I'm engaging in the human behaviors that perhaps block transmission of this illness. When I am walking in peace, I am not contributing to an environment of panic. In fact, I am contributing to creating a consciousness of peace. And from a consciousness of panic, people's needs don't get met, right? From a consciousness of peace, we can begin to meet people's needs more and more fully. And so these words, love, unity, peace, grace, power. Power is kind of one of my words. I was feeling really disempowered initially around this, and I'm beginning to feel more and more empowered and powerful as I anchor in this future that I envision, in which we've learned and in which we've grown. Benevolence, confidence. Let's be about embodying these words. All right, so can you begin to internalize this? Well, let's check it out. Let's just run another little poll, okay? What I want to invite you to do is to take a moment to respond to this poll. Right now, how are you currently feeling about what's happening in our community and around the world with COVID-19? Breathing deeply, embodying your word, your divine word, remembering that you now have a key to anchor you in love and trust and faith? How are you currently feeling about what's happening in our community and around the world? We're going to take about 10 more seconds and I'll close the poll. All right. I'm ending the poll. And now I'm going to share these poll results with you. We've made some movement. Let's see, 43 and 57%. That's a pretty darn significant increase, isn't it? And so all we need to do to change our thinking and change our experience of life is get conscious, is pay attention, embody these God-given qualities that are absolutely available to us if we're willing to remember. Let's take one last look at our creative cycle before we close. The spirit, the energy, is that which says, let there be. And put your word in there. Let there be peace. And begin to feel that feeling of peace. Your feelings are your own personal law. The law is the infinite law that always says yes. And that which is experienced is greater peace. All right. I'm going to do one last check for any questions. And then we're going to pray. All right. Let's turn within, and we are going to close this portion with a prayer, and then we do have a couple of more things to talk about as a community, but I want to anchor our expanded consciousness in prayer. And so we turn within and we recognize the infinite life, the infinite presence, the living one, that from which all things spring, that to which all things return. And this presence, this life is the presence of peace. It is the presence of grace, the presence of power. It is the presence of infinite intelligence and wisdom. It is the presence of all of these qualities of God we have named this day, for we know that this presence is the infinite presence. It is all there is. And we are fully at one with this presence. And so we are at one with all of its beingness, all of its qualities, its peace, its power, its love, its grace is right where we are. We cannot be separate from it, for we are indeed created in its image, in its likeness. And so all of the qualities we have named are already present in us right here and right now. And so I rest in confidence that we are divine expressions of these qualities, of these ways of being in the world, and that as we return to our lives later today and throughout this week and throughout the coming weeks, that we walk in the happy confidence that there is a healing power and a healing presence making itself known throughout the world, that we are activating that healing power, that healing presence by the power of our mindful understanding of peace, of love, of power, of grace, that we release any false ideas, any old ideas of fear, and we allow ourselves to simply be lifted into the God mind and become causers of that divine and perfect future we have envisioned here today. I give thanks for those who have said yes, who have shown up in grace, in awareness, in willingness to learn and open and grow. I give thanks for this deepening in spirit that has taken place. I am so grateful for the healing in the world that is unfolding through the powerful shift in consciousness that is taking place here right now. And so it's with a grateful heart that I close this message, knowing that God is good and all is well, that we have been transformed by the renewing of our minds. And so it is. Amen. All right, beautiful. So let's talk about a couple more things. First, I want to let you know that we've had a transition in our community this week. Most of you know our beloved Laura Mundine and Dick Rhodes. Laura did make her transition this week, and Dick is with us this morning. Dick, I'm so grateful. Thank you for joining us. And let us just be with Dick in consciousness and in prayer as he navigates this time, and let us know that Laura, you know, she's always with us in spirit. She has been such a powerful and instrumental member of this community for so many years, deeply loved, deeply appreciated. And I just, you know, I just keep remembering Dick and Laura at the retreat last year, and what a contributor she was, and how much she participated and blessed us all. So yes, please, I'm sure Dick would love to have you reach out with your support, and we will have more information soon about a memorial service for Laura. And in the meantime, let's just hold her, Dick, and their family very, very high. Secondly, I think Monica, let me find Monica here. Monica has some announcements for us. We can't come together in community without announcements, and so I am going to invite Monica now to give our announcements. Monica, you are now a panelist, so start talking.
Can you hear me? I don't have any video, but can you hear me?
Yeah, I absolutely can. Go ahead.
Okay, so my name is Monica McDowell-Elvig. I am the Center Administrator at Unity of Bellevue, and we are grateful for everyone who is here, even those of you who may not normally come to Unity of Bellevue. Thank you for coming. We are grateful to have you on our virtual church here today, our virus church. As you know, the annual meeting was planned for today, and that has been postponed. If you did not get that message, more details will be forthcoming about that. Our sacred service for the month of March is We Are Spring Cleaning for Youth and Family. And so now that we're all home and not going out as many places, it's a great opportunity to go through your house and your residence and really clean through your material items and bring them into the youth wing throughout the month of March. And you can bring that even if we're not here on Sunday, you can bring that throughout the week. Just let us know when you're coming so we make sure we're open. And that will be at the end of March. Sabrina will take all of those items to Value Village in exchange for dollars. So that will raise some money for our youth and family ministry. Just take note that Easter is coming up on April 12th. We have 2 services and 2 brunches planned, and an Easter egg hunt is happening at noon on that Sunday. It will be a powerful day, and we hope you will join us. Men's breakfast meets this Saturday at 8 a.m. for breakfast, followed by discussion in the library. Unity Life, our young adult group, meets this Wednesday, the 11th, from 6:30 to 8:30 in the library. And we are also planning a breathwork practice group for those of you who've taken my breathwork workshop or have wanted to but haven't had a chance to. We're just going to do a half-an-hour practice together on Wednesday, March 18th from 6 to 6:30 in the sanctuary. And just, you know, some people didn't get the news that we were going online, and the main way we have of communicating with everybody is through our weekly e-newsletter. So if you are not on that, this is a great opportunity to sign yourself up on our website, or let me know so I can sign you up so that you're getting our latest news and any updates to services and changes to those services. So thank you very much. We appreciate all of you, and our website is unityofbellevue.org. That's it.
All right. Excuse me. Thank you, Monica. Let me see. I need to get back here. Sorry. Oh, where'd you go? You disappeared.
Me?
Yeah, sorry. I'm trying to get me back. Sorry. Oh, you're a panelist. There we go. All right. I have to demote you, Monica. Sorry. All right. Monica has now been demoted, so I can be your center of attention again. All right, 2 more things. We did have our new member class, and we were to have our new member installation today as well. We are going to put that off until next week because we do want to make sure that we can honor those people fully next Sunday when we are all together. I do want to let you know our plan is to be back next Sunday in our center, and there's also a plan to get ourselves up and live streaming by next Sunday. So you will have the opportunity to join us in person, or you can join us online again next Sunday. We will be posting information on our website and sending out information via email about how to stream next week if you wish to. I want to also invite you to support our community financially during this time. Typically in our Sunday service, we invite you to move into the consciousness of giving, to recognize the spiritual truth that giving is a spiritual practice that grows us and opens our hearts in God. Just because we are meeting online rather than in person does not mean that principle does not still apply. It does. And so I've set up this webinar so that when you exit, you're taken automatically to our giving page. How fun is that? So you can have the opportunity to give in support of our spiritual community and our mission of transforming lives, inspiring people to make a difference in the world, our mission of awakening people to the truth of who they are, and really being a source of infinite good. And so you'll have an opportunity to support that. Because you're going to have that opportunity, I do want us to gather to declare our offering affirmation, just like we do when we are together. So please join me in your own space, wherever you are, in affirming the spiritual truth, our offering affirmation. Divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. And so it is. Beautiful. And then we are also going to, oh shoot, I did the wrong thing. We are also going to, as we get ready to close here, we will close with our prayer for protection like we always do. So please join me. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. Have a great week, everybody. Thank you for coming, and we will see you at Unity next week. Bye-bye.